Hi, it's Hella from Dawn Emporium, and today I'm making sumac chicken and telling you about the only goddess that Zeus is afraid of, because everyone has that one person. So, start off with the fresh stuff and get my little box for stuff that goes to get composted. Now, everyone knows who Zeus is, right? He is like the head honcho god. He is the father, the god of thunder, the gatherer, the cloud gatherer, the god of the skies. So he has quite a few, how would you put it, arrows in his armoury. And he even managed to defeat his father for control of the gods. So you'd think he'd be quite a hardcore kind of guy, with literally no fears. I mean, let's face it, he kept on cheating on his wife Hera, or Hera, depending on how you want to say her name, and she was no lady to be messed with. She was not going to deal with the average man messing around with some woman down the pub, and yet he managed to survive her. In fact, the story of Zeus itself is kind of interesting. Now, Zeus is son of Cronus, Titan god of time, and Rhea, Titan goddess of female fertility. Now, the Titans were the gods before the gods. They were like, we think of Zeus as being an ancient god, which would make the Titans the ancient gods, basically. And they were old school hellfire gods. No messing around. And Cronus had heard a prophecy that one of his children would become more powerful than him. So he decided to swallow all of his children, as you do. I mean, I do it regularly. I tell you what, I used to have 85 children, now down to 2. And I'm going to call her Rhea. It's Rhea. And in a normal, everyday situation, I wouldn't call that name Rhea, but I have a feeling that the modern alphabet is not enough. Now here I've got 6 cloves of garlic that I'm going to be chopping up a bit. Right? So just because I know the English language and everything about it is slightly flawed, I'm going to change how I say her name. Cronus' name I'm pretty sure of how to say. Right? So, Cronus decides he's going to swallow all of his children and manages it. Or so he thinks. When it comes to Zeus, Rhea wasn't having any of it. He was only a newborn baby at the time. And a lot of women feel extra with their newborns. And that's not to say that they don't love their older children anymore, but when you can walk, talk, crawl and, I don't know, throw fireballs, you tend to be classed as being able to look after yourself a bit more. Now I'm only going to be using 1 onion because my husband's guts can't actually deal with loads of onions. And they're meant to be red onions, but I don't have any, so we're dealing with little whites. Or browns, depending on where in the world you are as to what you want to call them. So she wraps up a rock in blankets, swaddles it like you would a newborn, and tells Cronus Yeah, this is Zeus. Go on, swallow him. You've done it with the rest of the kids, you may as well do it with the newborn. So, Hypnos does. There you go, swallowed all of his children. By the way, when I said some parents, I'm allowing for people who aren't that close to newborns because of various different problems that some people may have. So, I mean, I had to get to know my children before I was sitting there squeeing over them. You know, newborns, they're hard work. So, Hypnos thinks he's dealt with the problem. The Titans will live forevermore as the ultimates. But that's not true. Zeus is alive and kicking, and Ray is hiding him. Fast forward a few years, and Hypnos' fears all come true. Zeus and a group of his mates, known as the Olympians, which is the old gods that we think of as opposed to the old gods, the Titans, come to the fore and take over. Yeah, move that there. So, Hypnos has just lost everything he's worked for. Nothing matters anymore. And there he is, all cut up. Now, I make twice as much of the powder as I should, plus a bit, because I do tend to get a little bit OTT. So when you get the recipe in the description box, it's going to have the actual recipe and not exactly how much I'm using, because we do like our sumac chicken absolutely covered in sumac, and I mean absolutely covered. So I'll give you the basic recipe that I have, and then just use it to the best of how you like it, because some people might think it's got too much flavour, some people might think it's not got enough flavour. We absolutely love the flavour, so I go all out and add loads. Okay, you'll see. Right, so this is cumin. Love that smell. Allspice. Never actually been a fan of allspice, and when I saw this exact recipe, I was like, oh no, it's got loads of allspice and it's going to be terrible. And then I tried it and fell in love with this one. Tried several different sumac recipes. This one's my favourite. I put in a full heady teaspoon of each of them, and then it's meant to be half a teaspoon of sumac at this part, plus salt and pepper. So there's my pepper. Yeah, I don't actually have a grinder that grinds full peppercorns, so I hand grind. Right, so there is Zeus. He is now the god of gods. Right, he is the big dog in town. I needed something to mix it with. It's going to get it on anyway. Or the big god in town, should we say. And thinks he is, well, infallible. Now, I like to cut these down into smaller pieces. It makes it quicker to cook. And not only that, you can do much more with it. We use sumac chicken for everything from wraps through to the main part of the dish. I mean, you can use it with bone-in chicken as well. You can use this sumac chicken spice blend to put flavour on literally your Sunday roast. You know, things like that. It's absolutely gorgeous stuff. Love it. Honestly, if it was a drug, I'd be an addict, and so would my daughter. Right? So, You see, I'm sorry I have to be so far away, but to get me and everything else in, I have to be like 3 miles away. I need to find some way to sort this out. I'm just putting that on top of the garlic and onions at the moment. It'll all get sorted out a little bit better in a minute. So, yes, Zeus is the big dog, or god. And as usual, he's annoyed Hera. Probably had yet another demigod child with a mere mortal woman. Something along those lines. He's very good at that. So, what does she do? She calls on an old friend of hers called Hypnos, who is god of sleep, to knock out her husband. I'm not exactly sure why, but that's what she called on him for. And so he tried and failed. Remember, this is not any normal mere mortal man. This is Zeus. And when Zeus realised what had happened and the fact that Hypnos was in the house, he loses it and goes running after Hypnos. So Hypnos goes running to his mother. Now, his mother is literally the same league of God as Zeus's dad. She's got a right strange name though, as in her rank. It's like Prometheus or something like that. She literally came out of the void. I'll explain it all in a second. But anyway, so Zeus chases Hypnos all the way to the entrance of his mother's cave. Oh, there's a bit I missed. I don't like ligamenty bits on my chicken. And there's where the rest of it is. So he don't go in. Don't go in. Hypnos' mother was a goddess called Nyx. And Nyx was a goddess of night. And do you know what? He was frightened of this woman. He'd never backed down from a fight before. Taken out his own father. I don't mean he killed him. I can't actually remember the entirety of that story, but I'm sure we'll get to it eventually. So, why won't he go in? It's just some old goddess sitting there aging disgracefully in her cave with her son being a bit of an idiot. Why won't he go in? Well, Nyx is not just any goddess. Right? Nyx is the goddess of night, born of chaos. Chaos itself gave birth to Nyx and one other child, Erebus, her brother and baby daddy to her children. And yes, I did baby daddy that because I'm not sure how else I'm meant to say it without actually sounding really wrong. Right. Yes. One last thing to do. Right. Mix it all in so that the onions and garlic are mixed through. If you don't have fresh garlic, remember how I keep saying about garlic powder and how much I love it? In place of the garlic itself, garlic cloves, use dried garlic in with the rest of the dried herbs and just put it on with the dry powder. Now, I can move this, excuse me, show you what it looks like a bit closer. So there we have it. We do have it a little bit full. Just 1 second. Yes, I do have bits of chicken in my sink. And yes, my eyes are very orange. If you watch my festivity videos, I will be turning a lot more orange before today is done. But I thought I'd do this with just the eyes. Put a bit of lemon juice on. This isn't standard lemon juice, I have to say. This is actually lemon juice dressing that I'm putting on. But a bit of whatever lemon juice you tend to use. And then I use quite a bit of sumac because, like I say, this family absolutely loves it. I'm going to use another spoon, mix it around a bit and probably put some more on because we love it. And the thing is, it turns it a lovely, gorgeous, reddy purple colour. Absolutely gorgeous. Right? So, Nyx is literally born of chaos. She's the goddess of night. Her brother is the god of darkness. So between them, they are the void. And they were born of chaos, which is the void. And I would like to point out here that if you watched my video about hell, single L, Viking hell, double L, is actually being cast into the void. And I was talking to a friend of mine, and he is a Zoroastrian. Right, that's done. You can put it into the oven. Now, because it's breast, I'd normally spread it out if I was going to cook it right now, but this is going in my fridge. I'll explain why. I know, it's getting confusing because I'm trying to tell you a story and cook at once. Because it's breast, I'd normally spread it out on a slightly larger tray, so it's not all bundled up like this, and then cook it in the oven for 25 minutes to half an hour. And then, as I say, it goes with wraps, it goes with salads, it goes as a main part of your meal with whatever you want it with. Absolutely love it. If you have it with thighs or chicken. Sorry, getting over COVID, and the coffee's a lot better. That sounds a lot more human than what it did before. Before I sounded like Darth Vader with emphysema. It was awesome. So glad I caught it. Actually, I'm so glad I was vaccinated before I caught it. That would be a better way to put it. But adjust cooking times to what you're using. So if you're using thighs, bump the time up by 10 to 15 minutes. If you're using wings, adjust the time. If you're using a whole chicken, obviously you're not going to cook it for half an hour. You're going to need more time. What is great about it is in this condition, you can stick it in the fridge. I'm going to cover this in cling film in a minute, stick it in the fridge for later, for when I need it for tea. If you do it without the onions and add the onions later, you can make it and then freeze it. And then when you're having a busy day and you know that you're going to be busy when you get home from work, you can just get it out in the morning so it defrosts over the course of the day, or the night before, so it defrosts over the course of the day, like in your fridge. Some people do it on the sides. I suggest doing that in winter if you don't have a radiator in your kitchen. If you do have a radiator in your kitchen, don't defrost meat, because you're just going to make it go off with the heat from the radiator. We do have a radiator. It's turned off because I can't stand it, because I get so hot in the kitchen. And usually when I'm cooking tea, the radiators are on and I don't want to pass out. It's a stupid place to be, but I live in a council house. Yay, I got no choice. And not only that, the placement of it is absolutely horrendous. But yes, so you get the chicken out, it's already flavoured, it's full of flavour. Just chop up an onion, defrost it, stick it in the oven. Jobs are good and it's a quick, easy meal. And not only that, you can get them packed like wraps as well. So it makes a change to normal fajita chicken to have something like this. If you're not that keen on like the Mexican style chicken, go for this. This is a Middle Eastern dish. Very, very nice. So yeah, this is going in the fridge for me, just so that it's easier for later on, because I've got stuff to do today. You're going to see more of the orange throughout the day. I am sure of that. Oh, I am getting a new trolley, I promise. But yes, enough of that. Yes, so they say that children take after their parents. So Nyx and Erebus take after their parent, Chaos. And between them, between the night and the darkness, they create chaos. And chaos is their parent. But their children, awesome bunch. Right, I'm going to go through most of them without the genders because I ran out of space. So we have Hemera, god of the day, Aether, goddess of the light, the Aneroi, gods of dreams, Keres, goddesses of violent and cruel deaths. Never, never take a woman's chocolate bar away from her. That's how you end up meeting the Keres. The Hesperides, the evening and sunset. The Morai, the fates. The Geres, the personification of old age. The Oases, misery. Momus, blame. Apate, deceit. Eris, strife. Nemesis, retribution. Philotes, friendship. Hypnos, you've met him, sleep. Thanates, Hypnos' twin and god of death. Right, so if Nyx takes after her father, Chaos, and those children all take after parts of her, I wonder why Zeus was afraid to go into that cave. Yeah, actually I am so on Zeus' side. And actually Hypnos running into that cave, going, "Mummy, mummy, mummy, naughty Zeus is after me." I would normally like sit there and go, stand up for yourself. But out of all of those children, I'd say Sleep is actually a pretty weak child out of Nyx's children. You've got to think, I am not thinking of, if I turned around and said that your physical children were weak, that would be a bit of a diss, but I'm talking about gods here, and their gods are the embodiment of their powers. So the embodiment of Sleep is actually pretty weak compared to goddesses of violent and cruel deaths. Sleep, violent and cruel deaths. Sleep, violent and cruel deaths. Even against the evening and sunset. You sit there and you think, oh, there's nothing bad about that, evening and sunsets. No, that is actually the end of the day, and the end of the day can signify a lot of things. It can signify winter, old age, a lot of actually quite foreboding things. You know, if you are old and alone and you have nothing going on in your life, the end of the day can actually put a knot in your stomach. You know, if you feel that ill, dawn and sunset are not your friends. Especially if you're quite ill and you're having trouble sleeping and your sleep patterns are completely out of whack. Those 2 times of day are never good. The only one out of these children of Nyx's that is actually classed as a good child is philotes, friendship. You'd think that like sleep would be your friend, or I don't know, maybe Aether, goddess of light, and Hemera, god of the day. Right, Hemera and Aether, day and light, are classed as the opposites of their parents, and they are equal in power to their parents, but they are still not classed as good. So just because you're equal and opposite to does not make you good. Have a look at the far left and the far right. You'd think because they are equal and they are opposite that they will both be good. However, QAnon has managed to make it into both sides. And because it's made it into both sides, the scale means that they are pretty much equal. And in fairness, far right ideologies has been in both sides for quite a while. So, you know, day and night and darkness and light, yeah, I can see how they are equal on the scales, and therefore not as good as what you think. So I actually don't blame Zeus for being too afraid to go into Nyx's cave after her errant son who tried to force him to sleep. Personally, if I was Hera, I'd have gone for Thanatos, but I don't think Thanatos would have made it to Olympia without somebody noticing his presence and going, Zeusy boy, I think you might want to see who your wife's hanging out with. But that's just me. So, yeah, there we have it. Sumac chicken, one of my family's big favourites, and I do mean big favourites. And who Zeus is afraid of? Some little old lady, basically. Watch out for little old ladies. Yeah, I'm going off for a nap before I make even more my face ironed. Have fun. Bye. Know your power.